Hello everyone, my name is Rafael Correa Gomez, and today we're going to talk a little bit more how you can optimize your development process. I have more than 10 years of experience working with e-commerce, with different platforms in Magento and Shopify, in big commerce, with different languages too. E-commerce is made in Python, PHP as Magento. So yeah, and I want to bring to you some tips and tricks, some things that probably you already applied, or some things that you never heard about it before, or something that sometimes is obviously, but if it's not inside of your process, probably you are not tracking, and then it's not growing. So I recommend to you to start making notes. So this is how I usually watch the lectures, making notes. So when you see something that usually it's something that you see like, oh, I can apply this tomorrow or today in my workflow, then you can start to make these points, and then you can ask in the Q&A questions right after this lecture. But if not, you will be able to start to increase these steps in your development process. So, because I know with the routine, usually we forget things, and this process that I'm sharing with you is to help you to also not be focusing during the development, during the day-by-day routine so much that you forgot to increase the quality of the process in total. Because in the end of the day, what the agencies are selling is more than code, must be more than code, must be quality, must be process, must be a very mature process in how you're gonna offer these to our clients, how you're gonna make sure that not just you are delivering code, but also you're creating security measures to the client, and removing the stressful part of the course, which is predicting things, which is that is going to increase the cost, is going to increase the some things to increase the security measures and the quality in general of the process, your process and their projects. So, as I said, my name is Rafael Correa Gomez. I'm the technology director at Lecit, and Lecit is a Adobe partner here in Montreal, Canada, and I was elected Magento Master 2018. I'm 2 times Innovation Labs winner, and by Adobe, Magento, and I'm an open source contributor. I contribute to, for example, Magento, the core of Magento. I also contribute to DevDocs, the official Magento documentation. I also contribute to Hydrogen, the Shopify new headless technology. So I allow to contribute to open source technologies like Google technologies too, Twitter technologies. And I think it's a good method to see their workflow and bring it to us as an agency growing our own products internally. So if you want to know more about me, there's my blog here. So rafaelcg.com. If you want to see my blog, it's /blog. And inside of it, I publish some technical architects postings, some things that are reflecting about technologies, reflection about the analysis too. So reflection about the analysis that you can do in the market today, this kind of things. And you can contact me via the channels that I have there, like GitHub, Twitter. All the links are there. LinkedIn. So what are the summary of this meeting? The summary are 4 main points that I want to share with you all today. So the first one are the frequent problems that all of us faced in our current workflow and our previous workflows. So the frequent problems. Number 2 is the improvements that we can do. So some ideas to how you can improve your process. And number 3, to identify and validating opportunities. How I usually validate and identify opportunities to increase the efficiency of my process today and my team process. So, and my client's process too. And number 4, the tools that I already create internally with my team, that I created, validated, and then I bring to the internal process, and my team and I we grow these tools and improve it today and apply more and more process to have not just process validated but tools solid tools that we can use to match it with it. So about the frequent problems, number one here is about ignore patterns in the process. So most repetitive ones are the ones that we need to focus to improve it. So for example, deploys. Probably you have deploys every day to different projects, or you have one deploy once a week for one project, or twice a week to another project. So this is one of the process that it's a pattern. And if you start to increase this one, is the one that is going to have the biggest impact in your team workflow. So that's why it's the first point is to start to identify what has been applied every week, every day, every month, that you can start to look at it as with a improvement perspective, like focusing the improvement in how you can grow the process of it. So deployments usually is the first one to agencies and clients too. So local setup is another one. So this is a huge pain point to agents, because as soon as you start to optimize your local setup and start to have the quick setup to start new projects, as soon as you have more developers to be able to quickly start to show action in the project, or to jump in another project to fulfill the requirements there, with, for example, extra demand for Black Friday month, let's say, as we are right now in the Black Friday week. So local setup and share knowledge. Share knowledge is something also that it's a pattern, because as soon as you have a new member of the team and needed to have a good onboarding to help this new member to understand the project and the pain points of the project, this project that he or she has been onboarded on, or also when you need to transfer knowledge to another team member. So, but not about the project specifically, but how to do something that another member of the team needs to do too. So this is part of the pain points and patterns that we needed to. Usually, I saw that the agencies needed to improve it. So deployments, setups, and share knowledge. The second thing to do here is the repetitive process, the repetitive steps. So one of the things here, the frequent issues, is to get used to this repetitive process and just think like it's more secure because we know already how to do it. So let's keep it as it is. Let's not touch it because it's working. So this is one of the causes of the inefficiencies, because then you are not improving, your competitors are improving, and then you are there because it's working, even if it's costing more to you, even if it's dependent of one person to do this step every time, it's secure for now. So it's going to be a huge headache in the future if this person left the company, if for example, the clients need something different. So this repetitive process, even if it's secure, it can be improved. And also, train people to do machine work is one of the things, because as soon as we have these secure methods to get used to these repetitive steps, there are companies that also have a huge documentation with step-by-step to do many different things. There are most of them repetitive things that we need to do every time. Then you have a huge documentation, and then your team start to grow, and everyone start to read these documentations. No one is going to update these documentations. So, but this knowledge there shouldn't be in the air floating. It should be in some place that someone can look at and see how it is to do it, right? So the most secure method, the quick method, is like putting a documentation, everything in the documentation. But in the end, no one is going to maintain it. And the onboarding starts to get slower and slower, because in the end you have a huge documentation and no one is going to maintain it. It's very depreciated. And most of the time the people that are putting things there is not putting unique things are putting things about Magento, but we have dev docs in Magento, like best practices in Magento. We have there in dev docs. So, and they are updating this to us. So if there is the same thing in your documentation, the chances are that your documentation will be easily deprecated, and also it's an extra page to read when you have new onboarding. So it's not that effective, but it's part of training people to do machine work, because then they're gonna also, let's say they deploy, and then you have the step by step, and then you have all the tests that the developer needed to perform to each project, and then they needed to read it, they needed to remember that this documentation exists, and basically we're training developers to do the machine work instead of being more creative. So this is good. As soon as you start to improve this repetitive process, you stop making people do machine work. They will be happier not doing machine work, and you're going to be happier too, because your developers will be focusing on something unique, and your clients will be happier too, because your process is more effective. Machine is doing it quicker and being more effective in machine jobs. So we can automate these things, and everyone's going to be happy in the end. So this is one of the going out of the safe zone, even when you have the documentation, is to look at it and improve it. So this is a pattern. When you see a huge company, for example, there are small companies that usually they can move fast, but usually don't move fast enough, because they are going to there are many options to select. They can move fast, but they select usually the options that take more time or effort, and that they don't have enough research to have this. Medium companies that they have the things, they create, and then they don't move anymore. They left as it is, it's working, and then new competitors usually gain their market share. And also big companies that usually they don't stop, they are improving even the things that it's unique of them in the market. So it's something that they could be there and for more 5 years, and we shouldn't see any we probably wouldn't see any new competitor doing the same thing as them, but they keep improving it. So it's good to have, at least if you are focusing on it, if next time they're going to deploy, you have a backlog of the things that you know that it can be improved. Next time they're going to set to fix an issue or to do an extra improvement, you can add new layers of improvements on it. So it's good to have this in your focus. Also, when we create a new module, new app, new technology, new standalone script, the main focus that makes a huge difference, and all the Magento partners that I already worked or that I already did consultants, in total were more than 8, are to create smart and resilient code. What it means? It means that it's easy to change, the code that predicts change, resilient, so not reinventing the wheel, and also creating internal modules to your company when it's required, not every time, and also modules that you can plug and play. So easy to change are modules that have admin options. So, or in case it's a standalone script, the variables is in top, so you can tweak it and make it run differently. So admin options, easy to do. You can go there, enable, disable. That is easy to test, easy to non-developers, even to developers to go there and switch the option without an extra deploy. Easy to change is the first one. Everything that can be tweaked, everything that might change must be there in the admin panel. Then code that predicts change are, I saw many agencies that they create a code predicting just the best scenario. So what happens if I disable the extension? Then it's obviously it shouldn't break the page, but it's not predicted. The predicted scenario usually is just the good scenario, not the possibilities. The bad scenario is not covered. So there are try-cats missing in the code. There are different scenarios. The minimum scenario, disable the extension, is not predicted. So as soon as you disable, the PDP or PLP is broken. So it's broken. So then, like, it's minimum. Yeah, that because it was predicting just the good scenario, like the scenario that is going to be there every time enabled, it then it's going to be easily broken by different scenarios. So the code should be smart enough to predict different scenarios and not reinvent the wheel. It's like you have already the UI components in Magento. You already have everything that you need there to put your options. You have native functionalities of Magento that you can use. There are many modules that they reinvent the wheel, creating everything from scratch. So they are creating their method to do the things. So use the power of Magento. Magento is a very powerful tool, as Shopify is too. So you can use their things to your customizations be an extra layer. So it's the same thing, for example, to Ecommerce or to different technologies, even like WooCommerce. There are things there when some merchants came to us to do improvements in the Shopify, WooCommerce to then migrate to Magento. The bug fixes that needed to apply as soon as possible, usually can be fixed just by using the native method of using it. So how Magento uses the reports, you can use it there to do the things. How Shopify or how of course there are just like one or two projects in general to nowadays, for example, 1 to 2 migrated to Magento store that are included there. But most of the stores are in different platforms, in Shopify, let's say, or Ecommerce, that want to migrate to a powerful platform like Salesforce or Magento. Then those things that each platform has independently also must be used to leverage this power to improve your solution. So your solution can be just this extra layer. So not to reinvent the wheel, creating things from scratch. And also it's good to have internal modules when it's required. There are companies that create modules to everything, saying, no, I can create with better quality, I can create with better standards, or create this kind of create this and that. But actually, in the end, there are some good modules out there too to select. You can use and leverage minimal modules from someone else and create your extra layer in case it's needed. You don't need to create a module from scratch, because in the end, most of the agencies, they don't have a maintenance plan. So the clients are paying you to create. It can be cheaper in the beginning or expensive in the beginning. And then who's going to maintain it? Who's going to create a new version next year and provide to the client? So if they're paying a minimal amount, or if they already bought the module, probably they're going to receive the update to go to the next version of Magento. And for the agency, it's going to be paid. So you have to ask the client to go there, look at the module, and update it. The scenarios also are not covered. So for example, your internal module, when it's required, it's tested just in one store, or 3 stores, or 10 stores, or 20. But it's not has been tested in for example, there are modules in Magento Workplace installed in 1,000 stores. So the scenarios are different, the possibilities to not break are different too, and the chances are that most of the clients won't report when they see something that broke on the customer experience. So that's why it's good to, when you have internal modules, focus on those modules because they are unique, not they are creating everything from scratch. So we're not replicating things from the older technology that could be bought from third-party vendors. So you can spend more time improving the quality of your internal modules and helping your clients with your unique solution and solutions. So, and plug and play means, even if I get this module, my main focus is my module must be independent, must be abstracted from Magento. So if I put in a Luma store, it's gonna work. If I put in my client A, B, C, it's gonna work. All of them. So the extra layer that I put just per project is like the customization, unique customization to that project, but not the core functionality. So it makes the code faster to be replicated, faster to be escalated, and also maintained, because you can test even a Loom store. It's not dependent of the architecture of that project. So also check the options. So check the symptoms, sorry. So when you check the symptoms are things that happen in your New Relic, things that are happening on the logs, and usually we don't see it. So the agencies usually see it when the client calls and says something is happening. So let's see the logs, let's see the Relic. But do you have a maintenance plan to check it? Do you look at it once a week and make notes? Or do you look in the logs with the client in your weekly meeting and go there and see like, oh, there are many logs, we need to look at it. It appeared suddenly or it was caused by the deploy, but you are tracking it. So the goal is to remove the logs, make sure that there is no errors being reported, because it starts the first symptoms of a huge downtime that is going to impact the business, the client's business, or something that is going to stop the customer experience, will be those logs and New Relic reports too. So this is the first thing to start to detect the possible issues, and usually I don't see so much agencies proactively looking at it, even with the client during a meeting or discussing about these possible things, as for example marketing agencies discuss about Google Analytics reports. So, and what is the statistical analysis? Is the analysis not to looking just in the what is the issue and reporting. Statistical analysis is a recommendation. So how you create an action plan to the client is part of the statistical analysis that you're going to perform to your client. How you're going to create a list of items, what is your recommendation to attack the plan. So if you were the owner of the store, for example, if you were the CTO of that company, what would you suggest to the entire team, or what would you bring to the table as your plan to attack it, to be discussed? So it's good to think like that, to create an action plan to the client, because then you don't just offer the possibilities, because to measure the risks, it's good to you to measure those risks and offer to the client this and that because of this and that. So then the business decisions will be from the client part, but at least with your action plan and recommendations, you will be able to perform the statistical analysis to them and help them to solve the issue. There are many things that the clients usually take in the decision A or B, but they don't know about the risks, possible risks that they are assuming, that they are getting. And if you know and you don't share, it seems like you didn't know. So you needed to share this as an action plan and say the possible risks of each scenario. Even if the client suggests a plan that was not in your scope, in your thinking, you can measure those risks and say to the client, so then the client is aware about those risks that he or she is taking. So the setup a monitor system is essential one too. So if you don't have like a system to make sure that the store is up and running, this is the minimal thing. So there are many free systems like Uptime Robot. So there are many in the New Relic system you can set up this too. So system to monitor logs, to monitor, for example, customer behaviors in the website. For example, let's say New Relic, Hotjar, Google Analytics, all the systems to monitor things, they provide a different report to you, and you'll be able to analyze all of them and make sure that your recommendations are covered by those reports. So for example, the action plan is the same thing, let's say, to Google Analytics show to you all the graphics, all the things, but they don't show to you what to do. So they show to you all the reports and possible recommendations. So what you do is the plan that you're going to create to the client. So if the mobile has been used more than desktop, this is for sure a metric that you can go to on mobile. Or even if it's not has been used a lot, maybe it's because your client doesn't have a good mobile experience. Same thing to the code. So for example, if we are checking the monitor system and then we see a very huge time to read the PDP compared with the PLP, product landing page, and we see a lot of time to read and time to the server, the huge TTFB, the time to answer the client machine from the server request, a huge PDP load time, product page, then it's probably because you have a module that is consuming a lot of the resource from the server to show the result to the client. So this analysis, when you have this kind of report and metrics there, it's easier to find the cause of the issue. So set up a monitor system as soon as possible. And also, could it be delegated is an extra thing. So statistical analysis, like 100% of the agencies that I saw had these situations at some point or another. So for example, if you bought a module and then the module has an error during the test, don't try to fix it, because probably there's a new version, and then as soon as you request to then new module version, or open a ticket to let them know that there's this issue there, and then you start working on another thing during the time that they are providing to a new module version. If you're going to launch a new project, you wait for this. If it's urgent and you need to fix as soon as possible, they might be providing a patch to you, or you can create a quick patch. But the goal here is not to do something that is not that can be delegated to them since you bought the module. Or for example, you have a server provider, which is not, for example, AWS, or it's like a PaaS, like for example, WebScale, Magento, Nexus, for example, Platform SH. So as soon as you didn't have any deploy, and then you had a 500 error in some page, suddenly you can open a ticket to them, and then you start to investigate. So then you start to investigate, try to find the reason, the thing, but you have an extra help because it's a 500 error. Probably the Elasticsearch is down, or what happened there. The server will help you to figure out what happened. So you have an extra help because it's part of the package of a PaaS hosting provider that contains support to your application and the server services too. So what could be delegated must be part of the action plan to attack any new project or quick fixes that must be applied. Share knowledge is also part of the statistical analysis, because when you do perform an analysis, your analysis must be better than the last one. So how you share this knowledge, how you keep this knowledge out across the team to everyone, even a new member of the team will be trained and well onboarded to be able to perform the same things and to be able to quickly adapt in case the documentation changed. So it's not having a 100-page documentation in this case. So share roadblocks, another thing. So a meeting every day or every week, and then everyone shares the roadblocks and someone else can help them. Or also you can create a plan to not have this kind of roadblock anymore. Or what happens in case we have a roadblock, so we do this and this strategy, so you can share with the team easily. So when you have a new member and that the new member shares this roadblock, easily everyone can help the new member of your team. So these quick meetings, the stand-up meetings, it's essential to have these quick tips and tricks shared across the team. So possible improvements too. Let's check this out. So optimizations. Here about optimizations, we have, the optimizations will bring more quality, more strategical strategy to your tasks, and more fun tools. So quality in general, because it's going to be the same process repeatedly made by your automation. It's more strategical tasks because it's performed to analyze the scenarios, and it's fun tools too because your team will like to maintain the optimization tools, the tools that are created to optimize the process, which is very good. So turning process into products. As soon as I have this knowledge, a pattern, something that just one person knows how to do it perfectly, and it must be shared across the team. Not put this in our documentation. It's good to have documentation in the beginning to know how it works, what is the pattern, and then you can create a tool to do it. So you consolidate the knowledge that you have in your team in a tool that will be easily triggered by a new member, and the new member doesn't need to learn about all the things, doesn't need to know how to utilize the tool. So it's the same thing about, for example, energy. We know how to, for example, use energy, but most of the people doesn't know how to produce it. If you need to produce it from scratch, so how to extract it, how to be able to use it, but know how to start using it day by day. So it's the same thing. Like you create a tool, you create a method, an easy method to use your process that you consolidated. So you're going to improve a lot the developer experience with it. The tool will be developer friendly. So the DX, developer experience, will be awesome, must be awesome with this. And it must be ready to use. So plug and play, start to use it. No worries, or small steps to be ready to use. It makes the life of the developers very easier, much easier. So then also it's going to reduce the learning curve. So you don't have the onboarding process with 100 steps 100 pages to read, many steps to learn, to then start to do it, to do the tasks, to perform the job. So reduce the learning curve and also focus on quality and innovation. So this extra time will be dedicated to efficiency. So you have more time because you deploy less time, you are having the analysis in less time too, and then it creates efficiency in your team. As soon as you have this efficiency can be focused more in quality to improve even more, and also to innovate in your market, in the things that you do that is unique to your clients. And also it's benefit the teams and clients at the same time. So everyone will be very happy with the improvements. And also it's easier to identify weak points as long as the quality and innovation is your main focus. Then you easily identify the weak points, the pain points of your process, and fix it. And the next time improve it, and it's generated a snowball effect, which is going to generate a development culture too in your team. And also you're gonna help your team and community. So it's gonna solving these frequent problems is not gonna help you be helpful to your team, but also to the community. So it's good to share. It's going to would be good to share your solutions with the community as a possible improvement that you did, that you validated. And also you receive collaborations and feedbacks in case you shared. So let's say that you have a premium enterprise tool that you created, but you have a small version which is open source. So you're going to receive feedbacks. You're going to receive also collaborations, and someone's going to collaborate with you to improve to the next version of Magento or to do something else with that tool that you didn't imagine. And now you have a new possibility that you added to your main enterprise software, or you bring to your clients as an extra possibility, and it was a community improvement. So number 3, identify and validating opportunities. So let's go to the opportunity to optimize process. So optimization and process, they run together. So process and optimizations, they help each other. So critical analysis of repetitive processes is one of the most important things, because we have most repetitive and critical process to analyze. This is the top 1 priority. If it's repetitive and it's going to impact the business of the client, for example, deployments, this is the top 1 priority. Common tasks in your team, so for example, share knowledge, or as I said before, so all those steps are critical to and very repetitive process. And also easy to apply. So if it's something easy to apply today and it's critical, this is how you know that this is the number 1 priority. Easy to apply and critical in the process. So the proof of concept is notes during the execution. Next time you need to execute manually, you do notes during the execution. Then you test locally in your machine, make sure you validate the approach, validate the concept, applying in a small project first. Then the risk will be lower, because probably, for example, assuming in the morning they have less user, so the impact can be triggered smoothly. The impact can be monitored easily during the day when the traffic starts to grow, and you can see the validate the approach. And also automated more. As soon as you detect it's working, automated more and more, and set up in more projects. So as soon as you start to set up a new project, you start to optimize more and more. And this is nice when you turn it into an internal project. So okay, you apply it, it's working, and then it's going to become an internal project to you and your team. So internal meetings to discuss the solutions are great. Also set up the KPIs. KPIs are metrics of your key metrics of your progress with it. So what are the metrics with it? What do you want to achieve with it? And what are your goals? So those are the KPIs. And also test plan. So test plan is, okay, I have what is the test plan that you're going to perform with those tools and perform with the client? So then how you want to test it? What is your QA plan to start to test those projects and start to validate it? As I said before, in a small project, and then a medium project, and a huge project, as soon as you start to validate, because the scenario is going to change. So validation and test plan is essential. Training and engaging the team is another thing. So as soon as you have a new member, the new member can be able to start to use this new tool, and since day one, and it will be easier to you can track this, so how easier it is to start to use that tool. So as I said before, you have the option to share or sell it as a open source or enterprise product. So we have internal product as module, integrations, SaaS, and you have open source too to share it. So you can create a small version and an enterprise version. You can also just share as a open source version of it, or just enterprise too. So it's up to you, but create this action plan and the business plan of it. It's good to be in mind of, for example, the CTO of the company, how it's gonna be performed, how this task, how this, what is the purpose of this tool, how it's gonna be, since it creates something unique in the market, how are you gonna offer this to new clients or to your clients? So create a plan of it to extract the maximum power of this new solution, if it's unique. Even if it's not unique, but if it performs something in a different way that's better to your clients, so it does something unique. So four tools. So then we have critical issues. So critical issues in the process are forgot comments. Usually we have developers that run, for example, in all those agents I saw, new developers forgot to run a comment, not because it's his fault, no, if he forgot, but he didn't know that this project has a extra comment that must be executed because of the theme. So forgot comment is very common when you need it to execute one by one. Also, specific comments. As I said, one specific comment that must be executed. Where is it? In the documentation. So how the developer will know that there's this documentation? Are you gonna remember? Or there's a pattern to this documentation. So this is one of the things. Repetitive process too. So it's pretty repetitive. So it's a critical issue. Many tasks with variations and very repetitive. And also running unnecessary comments. So as soon as detected, like the previous conference that I worked, we have all those issues and running unnecessary comments, because in case you forgot something, so let's execute all of them, and then the developers start to create a list and run all of them together, even if it's not required. Even me, like running the comment every time, running, let's say, the setup upgrade, even when it's not required because there is no database change. So this is one of the things to be aware. Like the code can be smart enough to check if there are database updates to run one comment that will bring downtime to the store. If it's not required, it doesn't need to run it. So developer run it differently. As I said before, usually we had a very long time of deployments and a harder rollback when we needed to restore the previous version, and expensive pipelines running for a long time, waiting all the comments to be executed, and then returning the pipelines be there to running all the time. So very expensive pipelines. So the first approach would be, let's create code snippets. Code snippets shared across the team to not be just one documentation, and let's apply it. So the first approach that I applied, it was almost 5 years ago. After working with some companies, detect this and apply the code snippets. So it was easy to apply, and we can apply it today because it's just code snippets. Also, it creates speed during the process, optimize a lot the process. It creates consistency, but it's not. It can be the issues are it can be faster, it can be more dev friendly, and also it's not resilient, and it's not integrated. So this is the kind of the scripts that I created, and nowadays I already updated with some things in some small project that we don't use the tool, like the automated tool. So this is one example that I have. So mage deploy.sh, what it does is set up the environment, set up the composer, where's all those things, and then start to deploy the project with all those things like deployment of static files, like as I said before, set up upgrade even when it's not required, but it runs, and clean up all the things, upgrade the database if it's needed, enable the cache, and do all those steps. This is a code snippet example. And then what I did was I looked at deployer recipe. Deployer recipe is, as you said here, is an automated tool in PHP to automate how you can deploy things. So you can easily run this command to automate the deploys. It's going to run like this and automate everything. So then I looked and see, oh, then it might be a very good optimization to use my snippets under it. So I saw there are some recipes there that run all the compilation in one server, push to another server, but my goal was to use my own server to have my files generated, not transfer one to another, because every time I had to make sure that both environments are the same. So if I compile directly in the client server, then I'm running exactly the same PHP version. Every time will be the same there for structure, to then switch to new folder when I deploy the same links, and I have to deploy with almost zero downtime and sometimes zero downtime. Then I created this deployer Magento 2 recipe, which has more than 11,000 downloads nowadays. It's in the version 1.3.6, and here we have, as I said to you, I used all those steps and create a very developer-friendly tool that you can use one command to install, which is the deployer command. Then use this command to install it in your project. And the easy to use, how to use method is just one deploy.php in the root folder of your project, where you can configure what is the, for example, what are the things that we want to run. But usually in Magento is almost the same thing in all the projects. And as soon as I create and install this recipe and I run dep, which is the abbreviation of deployer, I had all those things here. So I had, for example, compile, log clean. I can run in multiple environments at the same time. I can run in station, I can run in production with just one command from my machine locally or via pipelines. And I can create custom features too. So for example, WebPixel, it's a theme, the Perl theme from WebPixel. So I have Magento, the WebPixel deploy, and JS deployments too here. Custom things that I created to this project specifically. I created, when most of our projects are on Magento, so I created a specific deployer recipe. It's on my GitHub too, to Magento, so I could start or stop the cron jobs, enabling the outscaling, clean up the cache, like the cloud front, OP cache, and Redis to varnish, all those things, directly from my machine or via pipelines. Docker is an amazing tool, so if you don't use it today, I highly recommend. Some years ago, I created this Docker container. It was one of the initial improvements that I started to do and create as this process that I just shared with you guys. And also pipelines. So we use even nowadays, the pipelines are awesome. So you can automate all those things via pipelines, the tests, the scenarios, the things. So your developers won't be able to, won't need to check the step-by-step, read the documentation, start to run one by one. As soon as they push to, they just needed to know about GitHub, Git, not GitHub, Bitbucket, but Git, they needed to know about, and Magento. So they previously probably worked with it, so they just needed to look at it, do the customizations, commit it, and pushed. So in case there's something wrong, or in case something, all this process that you created will be executed by machine, and machine is gonna do the things, and for sure it's gonna remember all the steps. And if something went wrong, the developer will be notified, and then the developer can take an extra action. But if the developer pushes to the staging branch, it's gonna be deployed to staging, let's say, or develop branch will be deployed to UAT or to staging. So you created this thing, so the developer don't need to remember the step-by-step other things or validation that needs to be performed. Is going to be there. They just need to be aware of it, not needed to memorize it. Our brain is like a processor. Processment is just to processment. It's not it's not a hard drive. So, and it can be, but it's not that good. So as a hard drive, so it's better to use as analytical in the analytical process. So you know what is there. Don't need to memorize it. If something failed, you go and find it and fix it. And if something missing, you have in your notes. Next time will be better. So this is the ideal approach to me. And also we have code snippets. So as soon as you start, a quicker way to have it shared across the team, step by step, is this tool, Cacher. This is a tool that you can share many snippets and tag them by, for example, Magento, Shopify. So you can have different tags and Salesforce, and then you can put all of those tags there, and you can easily search, for example, deploy, and then you find it. And if someone updated, next time it will be updated better. So then after having this process already there, you can create a tool from it. So this is an easy way to start to make some notes too, and easy way to start to create your own snippets to then create tools. After that, we had Magento, pipelines via Bitbucket, and deployer together with my recipe, the deployer recipe. So then I had here, every time that we deploy something to production through staging, Bitbucket pipeline will detect it, we'll do all the routine, will let us know that the deploy is going to happen via automated deploys, via pipelines, via Slack. And then dep deploy staging. That's the command that's going to execute the magic. So it's going to read the file with the configuration to send to the server, what are the host user password, not password, but for example, the SSH key. And it's going to connect to the server and run all those steps inside of it. This is where the magic happens. In the end, we have a pretty automated tool, checking if the Magento patterns were applying the code. We don't, so the code, we have less things to check in the code because the code standards has already been checked by the automated tool. The pipelines, the same thing. The pipelines automation to do all these routines when it's required or not. Different routines to staging, features branch, or production are applied, so we to reduce the cost with pipelines. And the deployer also brings the possibility to not have just the automated deploy via pipelines, but also your machine. If you want to deploy it, you run dep deploy staging. It's gonna deploy directly. Doesn't need it to be processed via Bitbucket every time. You can run your machine in an automated method too. This is the step-by-step in case you want to have this, how to set up Magento Bitbucket pipelines and deployer in my Gist. So it's just like that there in my gist.github.com/RaphaelSTZ. Then you're gonna find the one step install deployer Magento to Bitbucket pipelines with all those steps and files to set it up. Thank you very much. I hope you guys like it as I like it. And this is my GitHub and this is my website. Now we're gonna have the Q&A session. And thank you very much. Bye. See you next time.